The morning sun cast long shadows across Terminal B as Rosa Jenkins approached the check-in counter, her silver hair gleaming under the fluorescent lights. At 72, she carried herself with quiet dignity, her designer handbag clutched firmly in her weathered hands. The first-class ticket she purchased months ago crinkled slightly as she placed it on the counter. "Good morning," Rosa said warmly to the young flight attendant behind the desk. "I'm checking in for Flight 447 to Chicago." Kate Morrison glanced up, her blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun, her blue eyes narrowing as they took in Rosa's appearance. She examined the ticket with exaggerated scrutiny, her lips pursing into a thin line. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but there must be some mistake," Kate said, her voice dripping with false politeness. "This is a first-class ticket, but we don't have any available seats in that section." Rosa's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Excuse me. I purchased this ticket 3 months ago. My confirmation number is right there." Kate's fingers tapped impatiently on her keyboard, making a show of checking the system. Other passengers in line began to notice the delay, some pulling out their phones, sensing drama unfolding. "I'm afraid I can only offer you an economy seat, ma'am. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable there anyway," Kate said, her voice dropping to a whisper that still carried to nearby ears. The insult hung in the air like smoke. Rosa felt the familiar sting of prejudice, but her voice remained steady. "Young lady, I paid for first class, and I expect to receive what I purchased. Please check your system again." Kate's facade cracked slightly. "Look, lady, I don't know how you got this ticket, but people like you don't belong in first class. Why don't you just take the economy seat and be grateful?" A gasp rippled through the crowd. Several passengers began recording with their phones, their faces showing shock and disgust at Kate's blatant racism. An elderly white man stepped forward. "That's completely unacceptable," he said loudly. "This woman has a valid ticket." Kate's face flushed red as she realized her mistake. She quickly pressed a button under her desk, and within minutes, 2 security guards appeared. "Ma'am, you're going to need to come with us," one of the guards said to Rosa. Rosa remained perfectly calm, her voice carrying the weight of decades of experience with such treatment. "Officers, I haven't done anything wrong. I simply want to use the first-class ticket I legally purchased." The crowd grew restless, with more passengers voicing their support for Rosa. Social media posts were already spreading the incident across the internet. Kate frantically tried to control the situation, but her supervisor had been called to the scene. "What's happening here?" demanded Mr. Collins, the airport manager, his face grave as he surveyed the chaos. Kate stuttered through an explanation, but the crowd's testimony and video evidence made her discrimination crystal clear. Collins immediately offered Rosa a first-class seat on the next flight and a formal apology, but the damage was done. Rosa accepted the apology gracefully, but as she walked toward her gate, she made several quiet phone calls. Her voice was calm, professional, and distinctly different from the elderly woman who had been humiliated moments before. "Yes, it's me," she said into her phone. "I need you to pull all financial records on Skyway Airlines immediately." During the flight, Rosa continued making calls, her true identity slowly emerging through her conversations. She spoke with lawyers, financial advisors, and business partners about acquisition strategies and market evaluations. "The airline's been hemorrhaging money for 2 years," she told someone on the other end. "Their stock price is at an all-time low, and they're desperate for capital investment." As the plane descended into Chicago, Rosa Jenkins wasn't just another passenger who had been mistreated. She was Rosa Jenkins, the billionaire entrepreneur who had built her fortune from nothing, a woman who had never forgotten the sting of discrimination and had spent her life fighting it through success and strategic action. 2 weeks later, Rosa returned to the same airport, but this time, she wasn't carrying a passenger ticket. She carried ownership papers. Skyway Airlines was now hers, purchased through a combination of stock acquisition and strategic buyout that had taken the aviation industry by storm. Kate Morrison stood behind the same counter, unaware that her world was about to change forever. When Rosa approached, Kate's expression shifted to one of uncomfortable recognition. "You," Kate whispered. "Yes, me," Rosa replied, her voice now carrying the authority of ownership. "Kate Morrison, I'm Rosa Jenkins, and as of yesterday, I own this airline." Kate's face went pale as the implications sank in. Around them, other employees had stopped to witness the confrontation, some recording with their phones just as passengers had done weeks before. "I could fire you right now," Rosa continued, her voice steady but firm. "Your behavior was inexcusable, unprofessional, and illegal. But instead, I'm going to offer you a choice." Kate's hands trembled as she gripped the counter. "You can resign with a severance package and a recommendation for sensitivity training, or you can stay and help me build an airline that treats every passenger with dignity and respect, regardless of their race, age, or appearance." Tears welled in Kate's eyes as the weight of her actions finally hit her. I'm so sorry. I was wrong, completely wrong." Rosa nodded slowly. "Sorry is a start, Kate, but actions matter more than apologies. If you choose to stay, you'll undergo mandatory diversity training, work directly with our new passenger advocacy department, and help develop policies that ensure no one ever experiences what you put me through." Kate nodded eagerly, her career and future hanging in the balance. "Good," Rosa said, her voice softening slightly. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Kate. But understand this, there won't be a third." Over the following months, Rosa transformed Skyway Airlines into a model of equality and customer service. She instituted comprehensive sensitivity training, hired diverse staff at all levels, and created policies that protected passengers from discrimination. Kate Morrison became one of the airline's most passionate advocates for change, her personal transformation serving as an example of how people can grow when given the opportunity and proper guidance. The story of Rosa Jenkins and her airline acquisition became legendary in business circles, not just for the dramatic justice of it all, but for how she chose redemption over revenge, building something better from the ashes of bigotry. Years later, when asked about that day at the airport, Rosa would smile and say, "Sometimes the best response to hatred is success, and the best response to success is using it to lift others up." Skyway Airlines thrived under Rosa's leadership, becoming known throughout the industry as a place where every passenger truly was treated like first class, regardless of the ticket they held.